my beautiful Starling block makers. In this video, we are making 4 flying geese from 1 square and 4 little squares. So big square, little squares equals 4 flying geese. For the Starling pattern, so you have wiggle room and you're able to trim down your geese. This is a 10¼ inch square, and each of these are 5½ inch squares. So let's rock and roll. I'm gonna turn this on its side. I'm gonna place, okay, so this is right side up. You can see that's a print, right side up. This is a solid, so you can't really tell, but if this was a print, I was gonna make sure that it would be right side down, okay? So if this was a print, let's do this. This is a water-soluble marker. This is gonna be the wrong side. R for wrong. No, W for wrong. Oh, Suze. How do you spell? What are letters? Okay, and I'm gonna put another square right here. Okay, you just saw me do this naturally because I'm gonna be sewing from this side to that side. I like this block to be over this one. If you do it the other way, it doesn't really make a difference, except sometimes that my machine wants to fold it over. So I'll just be easy on myself, do that. Okay, line up. Oh, you gotta see. So line up here, and I'm gonna draw myself a guideline from corner to corner, a straight guideline all the way through. Here we go. This is like I said, a water-soluble marker. So with a little bit of water and sometimes even just steam, it just comes right out. You always want to test though, you know. Everyone's got a horror story about how this marker didn't come out, or, you know, it disappeared and then it magically reappeared. Everything is ruined. Don't do that. Don't have that happen to you. But this line we're actually going to cut, and it's going to be eaten up in your seam allowance. So even if it doesn't come out, no biggie. Okay, while I was talking, I threw in a couple pins. I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch seam on either side of this guideline. I'm not going to sew on the guideline. I'm going to sew 2 seams on either side. I'll be right back after I do that. Now here we are. You can see that this is looking a little bit rippled, and I sewed extra fast and furious to accentuate those ripples because I wanted to show you that it just doesn't matter. You know, when we're quilting a quilt, you're like, no, not the ripples. But in this situation, we're gonna do a slice. That fabric tension is gonna disappear, and then it's gonna extra disappear inside the seam. So obviously you don't want to distort your fabric unnecessarily, but in this case, you know, just get it done, get the job done, right? Okay, I'm going to take each of these units. I'm going to go to my ironing board, and I am going to press them to the side. Press this open like that. You, of course, have the option to press the seams open. Either way, whether you press the seams open or press the seams to the side, I always suggest finger pressing first, just so you don't extra distort things. So just give it a little finger press. You can even use a cute little roller if you want. I'll show you one of those in a second. And then, you know, flip it over and do your pressing. That way you won't distort the fabric. Okay, I'll be right back in a snap. Okay, so at this point, we'll say our halfway point, we have 2 of these cute little hearts, and we still have 2 squares, 2 5½ inch squares. So I'm gonna set one aside, and I'm gonna just work on this one for now. The other side of this, if you're curious, it's pressed to the side. Okie dokie. I'm gonna take one of these squares, hello, right there. I'm gonna line up the bottom corners. So I use my fingers to kind of like zhuzh it around, massage it around in place. This square is just gonna be hanging off the side. It's gonna feel weird to you, but it's correct, so just let it feel weird and good. Here we go. I'm gonna draw my guideline again. If you feel like I can eyeball that, I don't need no guideline, go for it, you know? I don't want to hold you back from that confidence you're so feeling. Okay, I'm still just gonna go ahead and put some pins in it. You could do 1 pin if you're like, I kind of got this. You could do 2 pins if you're like, I definitely don't got this. Okay, so there we go. Put that off to the side. I am going to do this to my second one. And then I'm gonna do something we call chain piecing, where I am going to continually, where's my guideline? Where I'm gonna continually sew my seams, a quarter inch, one on each side of this, without snipping my threads. So I'm going to save myself some time. It keeps the starting seam nice and secure. So if you want a visual on that, I'm gonna zzzz, and then without snipping the seam right here, I'm just gonna feed this into the feed dogs and go zzzz, just like that. That's not what my machine sounds like, but you get the picture. Okay. All right, we're back. You probably have a little bit of deja vu because you're like, whoa, I've seen this ripply seam before. You have. Okay, here we are. We're gonna trim whoops, there goes my pen. We're gonna trim this line, and you can even see, let's just zoom in for a second. Come on, there we go. Okay, if you can see here, I could even, if I didn't have my guideline drawn, I could even line up the 1/4 inch mark on my ruler with my seam and slice there, because I sewed it a 1/4 inch from this guide mark, so I know I can cut a 1/4 inch from the seam. Slicey. All right, we're getting there. You can visualize it. Oh, how about I zoom out? Cameraman. My cameraman was sleeping on the job. Okay, open it up. Oh my goodness, it's a flying goose. It's geese, geeses. Okay, so we've got geese in the house. I'm gonna press this open, and then we're gonna get to the only tricky part of this goose process, and that's trimming your geese. With the wiggle room comes trimming. So if you make these geese without wiggle room, you can just snip your little dog ears, which is what these are. You can just snippy snips and move on. However, you have to be very precise with your sewing. And since this is a beginner pattern, we are giving you some wiggle room. So let's press this and then we'll get to trimming. Okay, behind the scenes, I did something fancy. Whoa, look at this ruler. Okay, I just took a regular ruler. You can use your big long 6x24, your regular quilting ruler, or if you just want to handle something smaller, this is a 6x12. So I made myself some guide marks because that just makes trimming easier. So with some tape, you can use painter's tape, masking tape, washi tape. You could even just use a Sharpie. Give yourself these guidelines based on the trimmed dimensions in the pattern. So in the pattern, your long side, your width is going to be 9 1/4. And then your short side is 4 7/8. So that's, I know, feels like a weird fraction, but it all fits together. It really does. Okay, so when you are trimming your flying geese, you want this goose beak to be right in the center, if you can. Obviously, none of this really matters if you can't. And then these little edges right here, it would be cool if they stayed on the edges, you know, like if these remained where they are, that would be cool. I'm going to zoom in just to really show you, here we go, what we're talking about here. Okay, so to make my goose beak really hit in the center, what I've done is I have marked the center of my ruler with a Sharpie. I have marked it actually a 1/4 inch from the trimmed edge. Okay, so if you want that number because you're like, what is half of 9 1/4? It's actually, oh, I thought I wrote this down. It's 4 5/8. I didn't write that down, but I pulled that out of my brain. So at 4 5/8, which again, you're like, but that's a funny number. Yeah, but it really does work out. Okay, so I put the goose tip right at that dot because I know that's a 1/4 inch away from my trimmed edge, and I am going to be sewing with a 1/4 inch seam. So once this is all sewn together, that goose tip is going to touch right at the edge. It's going to be a magical thing. You'll notice on a lot of rulers, you have these 45-degree lines. Those also act as fantastic guide marks. So you can kind of just in your brain, like line it up a little bit. But really what we want to do, the 3 points that I think are going to look real nice, is if you can keep these little edges in the corners, you know, so it's perfectly 45-degree angle splitting those corners, and then keep this goose beak a 1/4 inch and in the center. Okay, so with my ruler, what I'm gonna do is put that dot that I've made, and this does wash out, like with some alcohol, rubbing alcohol or soap or whatever, because this is just plexiglass. I'm gonna put the tip, the corner of my ruler, I'm gonna find that 45-degree intersection just right here. And basically I'm just gonna keep this dot kind of at the tip, and then I'm just gonna start rotating this around, like, whoa, you know, rotating around to find those edges. So let's see here. Oh, I kind of just did it, didn't I? Okay, so here's the 9 1/4 inch edge where my tape, let's just get really, okay, you see that? So it's hitting that corner right there. And then here, look at that. It's hitting that corner right there. And let's get right in there. Ooh, my dot's right in the center tip. All right, so I know if I go ahead and slicey, this is all gonna work out. Whoa, my camera skills. Oh, so sorry. I'll edit this. In post, I'll get my editing guy to do it. Just kidding, I am all the guys. Okay, here we go. We're gonna zoom out so you can really see the whole trimming process. Okay, off I go, off to the races. I'm gonna trim 2 sides, I'm gonna rotate, and I'm gonna trim 2 more sides. I hold it down really firmly with all of my fingers. I'm gonna rotate my body, because I really don't wanna rotate or move my block. If I move my block, you know, I just move other things, you know, things just get kind of messed up. I'm gonna 180 this, 180 it. I might even, maybe it's easier for me to do it that way. These are my trim sides. So now I'm gonna line up my tape with my trim sides. And the first couple of cuts are the hardest. You know, now I'm just like easy breezy, whatever. I see right here that my 1/4 inch is right at that tip. Oh, I'm feeling really good about this. Oh yeah. Boom. Let's take a look-see. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, there we go. And I also, I picked this specific print just so you could really see what kind of a medium scale / on the larger end scale print looks like in this size of a flying goose. You know, this is a bit of a novelty print, so there are, you know, some tails that get chopped off, some bodies that get chopped off. It looks like maybe these were, I don't know, deer antlers or something that got chopped off. So stuff does get chopped, but it doesn't look terribly odd. But keep that in mind, you know, if that bugs you, especially if it's humans, if you don't want a human head to get chopped off, this might not be the best place for this fabric, best pattern. Okay, well, I hope you enjoy making the rest of your quilt. Happy sewing.